Aaron's eyes locked onto mine. Not casual, deliberate. His gaze held, steady, as if he'd been waiting for me to look back. Sienna's arms wrapped around me in a hug that lingered. Her perfume clung like silk, sweet and intentional, carrying something unspoken between us. That was the moment. In the crowded backyard, laughter, music spilling through windows, the grill smoking behind me. Suddenly, it was just the three of us, drawn to a space that hadn't existed moments before. We moved closer without realizing it. Aaron shifted his stance, my shoulder brushed Sienna's, the invisible circle tightening until the noise blurred into background. Was I imagining the way his gaze never wavered? The way her hands lingered on my arm like she'd forgotten to let go? My necklace pressed against my collarbone, heavier now, like a weight of anticipation. The air warmed near the grill. The music slowed. The laughter dimmed around us. Sienna's fingers slid into mine, intentional. She looked at me with a half smile and whispered, "Let's not stay out here." I didn't answer. The crowd parted as we moved through, like this path had already been chosen. Inside, everything shifted. The air cooled. The door clicked with finality, sealing us from the night beyond. A single amber lamp glowed in the corner, painting everything in liquid gold. Sienna kept hold of my hand, guiding it to her shoulder. Her touch was calm, but certain. Aaron stayed close, his presence dense as the air itself. I felt him before he touched me, a pull in my chest. "Still good?" he asked, voice low and careful. I nodded too quickly because anything else would be a lie. They guided me to the couch, not pushing, steering. My knees bent and I sat at the edge, feeling framed between them, positioned. Words floated around me, gentle but charged. "Stay with me. Look at me. Still good?" The words caught in my chest, thick with everything I couldn't voice. Two sets of hands found me, not rushing, not claiming, exploring safe places. My arms, the curve of my back, the line of my jaw. Each touch deliberate, layered, one after another until it felt like a rising tide. Aaron's shirt carried smoke from the grill. Sienna's perfume wrapped through it. Two scents claiming the air until I couldn't distinguish where one ended and the other began. The amber light contracted the room, drawing my focus tighter until all I could feel was them. "Say it if you need to slow down," Aaron murmured. Sienna laughed softly, amused and certain. She won't. And she was right. I stopped resisting. I stopped questioning. I let myself become the center of their attention. When did I stop being a guest at a backyard gathering and become this? How did a simple hug and lingering gaze become a door I couldn't close once I'd stepped through? I thought about pulling back, but the truth was undeniable. I didn't want to. For the first time that night, I wasn't drifting. I was chosen, not by one, but by both. Instead of feeling divided, I felt complete. A question trembled in my mind, thrilling and terrifying. What if stepping deeper meant I'd never be the same? Aaron radiated heat from his chest, but Sienna anchored me first. Her hand on my shoulder, warm, steady, commanding without force. She didn't push. She didn't need to. She knew I wouldn't move away. I sat perched at the couch's edge, framed between them like an unfinished painting. My pulse fluttered as though my body was impatient for me to catch up to what was happening. In the amber lamplight, the small room felt infinite. Infinite because I wasn't alone. Infinite because every second stretched into something I wanted to preserve. "Still good?" Aaron asked again. I looked at his patient face and nodded. Too fast, too certain, the answer had been waiting before he asked. Sienna's knowing smile flickered. She leaned close, her perfume enveloping me, the air humming with her amusement. "I told you," she whispered, lips brushing my ear so the words themselves needed to be felt. "She won't stop." I wanted to respond, to maintain some ground, but truth sat heavy in me. I didn't want to stop. Aaron's hand brushed mine, careful, testing, not trusting my nod alone. His fingers slid across my knuckles, waiting for me to pull away. I didn't. Instead, my hand turned, fitting into his like it belonged there. Sienna's touch followed, fingers tracing my arm in slow, deliberate strokes. Every pass left sparks, louder than the music bleeding from outside. 2 touches at once, different but layered. Aaron steady, grounded, pulling me to calm. Sienna, playful, teasing, coaxing me to melt. Together they pressed me deeper into the couch, deeper into the moment, until the room closed around us. I wasn't used to being seen in stereo, 2 sets of eyes focusing on me like I was the only person in the world. My chest felt heavy and free, something breaking open inside of me. They spoke in fragments, overlapping but never colliding. "Stay with me. You're safe. Look at me." I did. I couldn't not. Sienna moved first, shifting closer, her knee brushing mine, hair sliding like a curtain against my cheek. Her presence was bold, unashamed flyer that didn't ask permission. Aaron stayed deliberate, his hand traveling slowly from mine to my forearm, steady and grounding, reminding me I had choices even as my body answered faster than my voice. I felt suspended between them, a pendulum swinging from heat to calm, drawn into both currents. My skin tingled where they touched me, even in safe places. It felt overwhelming, euphoric, like each gesture was a question I kept answering with silence. The lamp flickered across Aaron's jaw, faint smoke still clinging from outside. I breathed it in without meaning to, smoky charcoal mixing with Sienna's soft floral notes. Together the scents settled deep until I felt branded by both. Was I losing myself, or finally finding something I hadn't known I needed? The thought made me tremble, not in fear, in surrender. They didn't rush. They barely spoke after that. Silence carried me forward. The lamp's hum, muffled laughter from the yard, the soft rhythm of their breaths syncing with mine. Aaron leaned in, not to claim, but to ask without words.
His hand rested lightly against my back, warm and steady, while Sienna tilted her head, eyes daring me to say no when she already knew I wouldn't. This wasn't about being caught between them. It wasn't about choosing one over the other. It was about being held in the center of something bigger, something I couldn't define, but didn't want to escape. As their hands found me again, Sienna's sliding with playful certainty, Aaron's anchoring with care, I felt my resistance dissolve. I wasn't just sitting anymore. I was surrendering.
But somewhere in the quiets, a thought tugged like a loose thread. What happens when you give yourself this fully, this fast? What if tomorrow feels different than tonight? The question burned, but I didn't let it stop me. Tonight wasn't tomorrow. Tonight was this. When Sienna's lips brushed my cheek with the whisper of a kiss and Aaron's hand steadied me from behind, I knew there was no walking back out that door as the same person who'd walked in. This was only the beginning. Sienna's lips kissed the edge of my cheek, feather light, deliberate. Not so much a kiss as a promise, a signal that she'd claimed this space between us. Aaron's hand lingered on my back, steady, grounding, holding me without force. The warmth of his palm spread through me, reminding me he wasn't rushing, that he would wait as long as I needed. But I didn't want to wait, not anymore. I sat caught between them, amber glow folding around us like it had been waiting for this moment. The world outside seemed distant, muffled, as though nothing beyond this room mattered. Sienna shifted closer first. Her knee pressed mine, her shoulder brushed me, her hair slid against my face as she leaned in, confident, unashamed, leading the dance I hadn't realized I'd already agreed to. Aaron balanced her fire with patience, every movement measured, his breath steady. He didn't compete with her, he didn't need to. Together they created something larger, a rhythm I could feel in my own pulse. My mind raced, but my body was already answering. I felt every point of contact like a spark. Sienna's fingers along my arm, Aaron's hand on my shoulder, the heat of their closeness pressing from both sides. I should have questioned it more, should have asked myself why I was letting go so easily, why I felt no urge to resist. But the truth was simple. I didn't want distance. Not from her, not from him. Sienna's touch grew more playful, her nails grazing lightly along the curve of my jaw before settling under my chin. She tilted my face toward her, her eyes glinting with that same knowing smile she'd worn outside. "Stay with me," she whispered, voice thick with certainty. Before I could answer, Aaron leaned closer, his breath warm at my ear. "Still good?" I nodded, again, too sure. And just like that, I was theirs. Their touches layered, one over the other, until I couldn't tell where one ended and the other began. Sienna's fingers trailed down my arm as Aaron's hand slid across my back, the sensations blending into something that left me breathless, weightless. I closed my eyes, letting myself feel it fully. The world shrunk to details. The dip of cushions beneath us, fabric against skin, perfume and smoke mixing in the air, wrapping me in a scent I never wanted to escape. My thoughts fractured. Every time I tried to hold on to reason, another wave of touch or whisper stole it away. Was it wrong to want this? To want both of them? Would I regret it when the night was gone? Or would I regret walking away more? Sienna's hand found mine again, intertwining our fingers as though she could hear the questions in my silence. Her grip was steady, commanding.
She leaned closer until her lips hovered beside mine, not quite touching, teasing the space between us with unbearable patience. Aaron's hand pressed more firmly at my back, drawing me against him, his presence a constant reminder that I wasn't falling alone. It was too much, and yet not enough. I opened my eyes and found Sienna watching me, not amused this time, not daring. Her gaze was softer, deeper, as though she wanted to see past the surrender and into the part of me that still trembled with uncertainty.
"You feel this too, don't you?" she asked quietly, her voice steady but intimate. The answer was already written in my body, in the way I leaned into her without realizing it, in the way I let Aaron's warmth press into my back instead of pulling away. "Yes," I whispered, barely more than breath. That single word changed everything. Sienna's smile widened, her confidence returning like a flame reignited. Aaron's hands slid lower on my back, not rushing, but more certain now, more deliberate. And I let it happen. I wasn't passive anymore. My free hand lifted, trembling, and touched Aaron's wrist where it rested against me. I didn't push him away, I held him there. For the first time that night, I wasn't just being guided, I was reaching back. The room blurred into a haze of gold and shadow, the only clarity the closeness of their bodies, the softness of their words, the pull of their eyes on me. I felt undone, unraveled, every layer of control slipping quietly into their hands, and instead of panic, I felt release. Sienna leaned in again, her lips finally brushing mine, not claiming, not demanding, just enough to break the last barrier I'd been holding on to. Aaron's voice came low and steady at my ear, sealing a vow. "Say it if you need to slow down." But this time, I didn't just nod. I spoke. My voice was quiet, but steady, carrying the weight of my surrender. "Don't stop." The words left me before I could second guess them, and once they were spoken, I couldn't take them back. I didn't want to. Because in that moment, I knew I'd crossed a line I couldn't uncross. And I didn't care. His silence lingered as his hand stayed on me, firm yet careful, as though he feared I might vanish if he pressed too hard. My heart wasn't steady anymore. It moved in rhythms that weren't mine, as if it had borrowed its pulse from his. I couldn't move, caught between wanting to melt into him and wanting to run before I drowned. "Why do you let me close, then push me away?" His voice was low, raw, like a confession he didn't mean to make. I closed my eyes. I wasn't ready to answer because the truth felt bigger than the room. My lips trembled, caught between words that could either free me or entrap me. Instead, I leaned closer, as if the silence itself had pulled me in. My shoulder brushed his chest, and I could feel the question still burning in him. My body gave an answer my mouth couldn't, choosing him in the way it leaned, in the way it refused to retreat. But fear is never silent. It whispered to me, reminding me that once I crossed this invisible line, there was no return. Was I ready for that? Was he? When his fingers grazed the side of my neck, I let out a sound I didn't recognize, too soft to be called a word, too raw to be called a sigh. His eyes searched mine, and I knew he heard the part of me I couldn't speak. "Then stay," he murmured, almost pleading.
The room was too small to hold what was happening between us, yet too vast to hide in. I felt the pull, the risk, the need. And before I could stop myself, my lips brushed his, lightly trembling. Not even a kiss, but something fragile and unfinished. He didn't move. He waited. He let me decide if that moment would break or bloom. And I chose bloom. The kiss deepened, but not in urgency. It grew like roots into soil, slow, deliberate, carrying everything we hadn't said. His hand slid to the small of my back, steadying me when my knees weakened.
I wasn't just kissing him, I was unraveling. But in the unraveling came clarity. I realized I wanted this, wanted him. Yet at the same time, I feared how much of me he was taking without even asking. Was love supposed to feel like surrender? Or was this something else entirely? When we finally pulled apart, I couldn't look at him. My lips still tingled, my body still hummed, but my thoughts were chaos. "You feel it too," he whispered. More statement than question. I wanted to deny it, to shield myself, but the truth was written all over me. My trembling hands, my flushed cheeks, the way I still leaned toward him even when distance might have been safer. "Yes," I said finally, the word breaking out of me like a secret I'd been hiding too long. And in that moment, the air between us shifted, not in heaviness, but in finality. We had crossed into something we couldn't take back. The night carried on outside, uncaring of what had just been born inside these walls. But I knew everything had changed. Because I had kissed him not out of curiosity, not out of weakness, but out of need. And that need was only growing. And still, a part of me whispered, "At what cost?" The word still lingered in the air, fragile and trembling, as though it had been spoken not from my lips, but from the deepest place inside me. Yes, that was all I gave him. And yet, it felt like I had handed him the map to every hidden part of me. He didn't rush to claim it. He simply looked at me, his eyes steady, as though he needed to memorize the truth before daring to move again. I wanted him to speak, to reassure me that I hadn't made a mistake, but he stayed silent, letting the moment stretch until I could hear the faint pounding of my own pulse in my ears. When his hand brushed my cheek, I felt the weight of what had been set in motion. It wasn't just a kiss anymore. It was the unraveling of two people who had danced around their desires too long. And now the walls we'd built were cracking, brick by fragile brick. "You don't know what you've done to me," he whispered, as if the words were being stolen from his chest. A shiver moved through me, not from fear, but from the way his voice carried both longing and restraint. I wanted to answer, to tell him that he wasn't alone in this, but words seemed too small for the enormity of what was surging inside me. Instead, I let my fingers curl against his shirt, holding on as though I could anchor myself in him. For a moment, we stood suspended, two souls caught between hesitation and surrender. And then, as if we had silently agreed, we leaned into the unknown. His lips found mine again, not tentative this time, but certain, like he had chosen me fully and without regret. The kiss was different now. It was heavier, soaked in everything we hadn't dared to confess.
My hands trembled against him, but I didn't let go. I couldn't. There was a gravity between us that no logic could fight. Still, beneath the sweetness, a fear threaded itself through me. How much of myself could I give before I lost who I was? Would he keep me whole, or would he consume me? The question swirled even as I let him pull me closer, even as my body leaned deeper into his. When he finally broke away, his forehead rested against mine, and his breathing was uneven, as though he too was battling the storm inside. If I let this happen, there's no turning back. Do you understand that? I closed my eyes, letting the weight of his words settle into me. I understood more than he realized. I knew the danger, the risk, the way this would change everything, and yet I couldn't deny what my heart had already chosen. I don't want to turn back, I whispered. The silence that followed wasn't empty, it was thick, with promise, with warning, with the unspoken acknowledgement that we had just stepped off the edge of a cliff together.
His arms tightened around me, protective and desperate at once. And for the first time that night, I felt not just wanted, but claimed. Not in a way that stole from me, but in a way that dared me to believe I was worth holding. I should have been afraid. I should have pulled away, but instead I let myself sink into him, into the warmth and the danger and the sheer madness of it all. Because somewhere in the chaos, I realized, I had never felt more alive. And as the night deepened, carrying our secret into its quiet hours, I knew we had crossed a threshold we could never step back from. What waited on the other side, I didn't know. But I was already walking into it, hand in hand with him, heart wide open. The night felt endless, as though time itself had slowed to watch us unravel. Wrapped in his arms, I felt the stillness between our breaths, the fragile quiet after a storm that had changed everything. The world outside no longer mattered. All I could hear was the steady rhythm of his heart, beating like a vow against my skin. It should have terrified me, this intensity, this sense of belonging that arrived too suddenly to make sense. But fear had no space here. What I felt was raw, overwhelming, and strangely tender, like discovering a truth I'd been searching for my entire life without knowing it. He touched me as though he was afraid I'd disappear, as though this moment was both miracle and danger. And in a way, it was. Because now, with the walls between us gone, there was no pretending we could ever return to who we were before. "Say it again," he murmured against me, his voice unsteady. I didn't ask what he meant. I already knew. "Yes," I whispered, firmer this time, no hesitation left in me. He closed his eyes, and I felt the weight of his relief, his surrender, his acceptance. For both of us, that word had become more than permission. It was a promise, one that bound us far deeper than we could untangle. Every touch, every kiss after that carried a different kind of gravity. No longer stolen, no longer tentative. We weren't hiding in the shadows of doubt. We were standing fully in the fire, daring it to burn us, daring it to remake us. And yet, as passion swallowed us whole, a quiet question curled in my chest. What happens when the morning comes? Would he still look at me the same way? Would this fire survive the light of day,
Or would it crumble into ashes the moment reality crept back in? I wanted to ask, but the words stayed trapped in my throat. Instead, I held on tighter, letting myself drown in the present. For once in my life, I allowed the moment to be enough, without trying to cage it or control it. When the night finally loosened its hold, he traced his fingers slowly down my arm, anchoring me to the promise he had yet to speak aloud. His eyes met mine, unflinching, as though he was silently telling me, "I'm not letting go." And maybe that was all I needed. Not a guarantee, not a perfect plan, just the certainty that for this moment, and maybe for every one that followed, we were choosing each other. As the dawn crept closer, spilling its quiet gold into the room, I felt the weight of our secret settling between us. But instead of fear, I felt something different. Hope. The fragile, dangerous kind that makes you believe in impossible things. Because maybe love doesn't come when it's convenient. Maybe it doesn't arrive when the world approves. Maybe it comes like this, messy, reckless, terrifying, and undeniable. And as his hand laced with mine, I realized the truth I had been running from all along. I wasn't afraid of being consumed. I was afraid of never feeling this alive again. So I let the morning take us, with my heart wide open, no defenses left. Because sometimes surrender isn't weakness. Sometimes it's the bravest thing you'll ever do.
Tell me, if you were standing where I stood, with your heart on fire and no way back, would you leap or would you run? Support this channel by liking this video and sharing it with people around you. It helps more than you know, and we greatly appreciate you. Stay tuned for more stories coming your way.